As a startup, whatever you build on day one will be of very average quality.
Yeah.
That you have to admit. If you spend enough time in building something very great, then you're already late. But what is more important is the market, whether there's demand for it or not. See, payments and banking inherently, it is digital by definition. वहाँ पे कुछ real होता नहीं है. So what we did, right? We created physical asset out of digital thing.
Okay.
Right? Because end of the day, bank में आपका number ही होता है, data ही होता है. But you have created branch so that people can come and know that data. Every year, India is pulling more than 50-60 lakhs people out of poverty for last 20 years, right? Every year. Right? And this is happening. I mean, if you have to look at growth of any country, it's not fair to look at the growth of last 5 to 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Because see, that is something you'll do for human being, right? कि यार वो 6 साल में क्या किया? But if you look at country, you have to look at 50 years. कि उसने 50 साल में क्या किया? And that is where you'll see the entire curve going up.
How do I reduce the barrier to entries?
Exactly. Make it more accessible. Right? Make my business product or service more accessible.
That's what FMCG people did, right? Like, I mean, if shampoo was getting sold in a big bottle, they started making like 1 rupee pouches so that more people can access to it. And once they start building this habit, that exactly you have to do with every business.
That's happening with financial services in a very big way. Right? Pehle, if a business has to build a financial product, they have to spend 6 months with a bank.
Yeah.
That is the cost for them, right? I mean, it's not about money. They'll be paying the same way, but it's a cost for them. But for fintech company like us, they can go to market within 2 weeks, right? Example is like card issuance. A lot of business you must have seen ki they are releasing co-branded credit card in the market.
Yeah.
Right? Because that brings loyalty and it's like recall रहता है. Customer जब भी wallet निकालेगा उसको मेरे brand का card दिख रहा है.
Yeah.
Right? But for that मुझे 6 से 9 महीने time spend करना पड़ता है work with the bank, and that is increasing my cost. Right? And if you work with partners like us, ये 2 week में हो रहा है, and that will encourage for me to have a faster go to market. So India में, I mean, both things were challenged, right? When you look at tech industry, we didn't have a know-how of how to build the right technology, right product, but we learned it by getting into services. Right? All of us worked at asses off for like 20 years, worked at TCS, Infosys, built technology for global giants. And after 20 years, people understood, right? So if you look at the startup ecosystem like 15 years or even 10 years back, we did not have mentors. And no one knew how to build a system which can handle, say, 10 lakh orders per day.
True.
But now the know-how is there. Right? You can always reach out to someone to get a problem solved.
True, that's true. Who did you reach out to in the beginning to get your problem solved?
See, by the time we started, I think we started in 2015.
Okay.
Right? And so again, I worked at Amazon for that. So we had a good sense of how to scale things up. And best part in Bangalore, you have access to very, very great talent, right? And people who are at like a world-class level. And a lot of people have come back also, right? People who have worked in States for 20 years, right?
They came back.
They came back. Yeah, I mean, they also believed in the story of India growth, right? And they were like, I've done working here for this market. I want to work for Indian market. And we have such people in the company, right, who want to build for Indian market. And they're at a stage where they can contribute immensely, right? They don't have to experiment because they have learned a lot. And that is helping the entire ecosystem, right? You look at any larger company, they are getting, taking advantage of that growth which happened in the last 20 years, right? So it's not overnight.
Fair.
And the people who are learning right now, they can be a mentors of, next set of companies who will be coming up, say, in 2025, 2030. Then ecosystem today itself is very mature. But still it's not there where you have, say, US or China, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to like AI, ML, we as an industry still at an automation stage. Right? A lot of things were manual, like there were 1,000 like parties in the system. And I'm combining it in a more automated way so that data can flow through system rather than through people. Abhi kya hota, one guy do some work, wo file deta tha, that guy do some work, wo file deta tha. So that's being replaced. If you look at food delivery and e-commerce, it's all just automation. The next stage is more about intelligence. Right? How do I, remove people even from deciding what to be done? Right? Pehle kya hota, if you look at e-commerce company and they had to decide ki front page pe kaun sa product dikhana hai. So they had teams.
Yeah.
To decide ye t-shirt acha hai, ye cover acha hai. They used to do manual. Now it's all very system driven. They can predict like how many time user is spending on the website, conversion kitna ho raha hai, and basis that they keep on changing it.
True.
And they also know which image is able to capture more attention of the people, right? So now the data is going to the supplier. They tell them if you want to sell a sofa, then this is how you click a picture. And that will be good for the customer conversion. And everything is very system driven.
Yeah.
So these kind of work are happening very less in India. I mean, these things are still manual, but in other parts of the world,
it's happening.
Yeah. And if you look at, just to finalize, content industry. पहले you had group of like writer, all the like creative people decide क्या बेचना है, क्या लिखना है. अभी that is also system driven, right? If you know कि यार ये 2-3 show चल रहा है, ये चल रहा है because the lead actor was of this personality, right? The cast was this personality, ये था, and they start building similar ones.
Yeah.
And that is also getting very, very automated.
Yep.
So even in India, when we started the company 2015, so payment system at other places were much more matured, right? Things were handled in a very sophisticated way. But India, we had a challenge about basic things, right? Ki customer is willing to buy, but system was unable to accept payment, and that was big letdown. And confidence was not building up in the ecosystem, right? Because हर बार you'll have a fear है, मैं डालूंगा, मेरा पैसा कटेगा, and order नहीं होगा. And लोग वो काफ़ी सोच के डालते थे, right? Unless I have very strong motivation, मैं नहीं डालूंगा. I'll go to the shop nearby, मैं cash में buy कर लूँगा, because ATM is reliable. कार्ड डालने पैसा ही जाता है, unless ATM is out of money, right? So वो सेंस था कि I have a debit card, but instead of like putting on the website, I'll get it cash from the ATM, and then I buy stuff.
That's what the Indian system was for the largest time.
Right, and it was very like predominant, right? If you look at 2014-15, e-commerce में 80-90% orders for COD. डिलीवरी आएगा तब मैं कैश दूंगा. द चैलेंज वाज द चेंज. जैसा आपने ऑर्डर किया है 550 रुपये और लाइक 880, लाइक 990. डिलीवरी बॉय के पास गिवन दैट इज गोइंग टू विजिट लाइक 10-20 हाउसेस, वो कितना चेंज लेके जाएगा? इट्स डिफिकल्ट. राइट, एंड दैट इज अ प्रॉब्लम वी ऑल्सो फेस्ड कि यार हम दिन में 4 बार ऑर्डर करते हैं. लाइक वी ऑर्डर फूड, वी ऑर्डर ग्रॉसरीज, हर बार वी स्ट्रगल, राइट? लॉट ऑफ टाइम डिलीवरी आ रहा है, सी वंस वी प्लेस ऑर्डर वी यूज्ड टू गो टू ATM, कैश लेके आते थे सो दैट वी आर रेडी. Right, and that's something we faced, and we realized, yeah, why is no one solving this kind of problem? It's very basic, right? The thing I can do online, I can also do when the guy is here.
True.
So that gave us a sense of larger picture. Right? Then we deep dive into the ecosystem. कि यार काफ़ी जगह, suppose you have a lot of gig economy companies came up that time, right? जब पैसा आता था every 15 days they have to like do some cash या automated bank transfer करते थे, but very slow process. And we looked at global market, right? I mean, if you look at US, Europe, things were much more seamless, automated, right? Risk check वगैरह काफ़ी था. And ऐसा नहीं कि there was no infrastructure, right? India में भी हम Visa, Mastercard use कर रहे थे. And they had like thousands of capabilities, but we were just using 5% of it.
True.
Right? Neither banks were pushing those good things in the market. Neither payment companies were or had the incentive to do it. Right? So a lot of companies are working at high margin. They're happy doing because demand भी नहीं आ रहा था. And a lot of times these consumer businesses, they are not tech savvy. And they themselves cannot.
Even today, they are not like very tech savvy, honestly.
It's a spectrum, but there are companies who are very tech savvy. There are companies who are still learning. But overall, because ecosystem, right? If you're tech savvy, how will company be tech savvy, right? Because if they have developers who are tech savvy, product managers who are tech savvy, then only company will be tech savvy. So they were also learning that time, what are the possibilities. And that time in India, product managers were a non-existing role, right? I mean, हमारे पास होता है project manager, delivery manager, right? I mean, that's how things evolved. No one was thinking, यार मतलब how can I improve it? Everyone was satisfied कि ये 4 चीज़ available है, and that is my like playground. I cannot do anything beyond it because no one was showing them कि यार मतलब what all things are available.
Yeah. So okay, give me this background of, let's say somebody wants to think of this man, think about their business in a certain way, that I want to make it tech savvy. I want to be like कि boss, अब ये manager हटाओ. I want to build like all of these things, and I want to take it कि tech enables से tech first कैसे बन जाऊँ. Right? So what do you feel like? What should be the right approach? Are there books or resources to read? What is the right approach to think about? Because for far majority of people, they don't even have an understanding of boss कि इसके साथ कुछ हो सकता है क्या?
First, we have to recognize the problem कि यार my system can be more efficient. अभी that awareness is less. Right? People are just trying to optimize what they can see. Right? So rather than thinking यार मेरे पास 4 accountant है, instead of 4 can I work with 2 or 3, or can I keep the salaries in check? But they don't think about can I do this work because without accountant, right? I mean, वो thought process नहीं है. So that is more an awareness problem. But if you look at a lot of new businesses which are driven by younger people, which have some exposure about tech and all, right? They are thinking these lines. On day one, when they're launching the business, they don't try कि यार पहले मैं rudimentary करता, then I'll automate. Day one itself, their goal is कि यार मैं सब कुछ automated, smooth रखूँ, so that I don't even have to go and hire.
Yeah.
And that is where having a strong system around payments banking becomes very critical for online businesses. Right? Other than 10 other things, right? Because day one पे मुझे 10 चीज़ें करनी है, and I just want to write program around it, write a code so that system can handle everything without me looking at. See, no one wants to lose sleep in the night, right? रात को 10 बजे 11 बजे, you don't do trivial things.
Yeah.
And people of this generation wants to use their brain in a productive way, right? अगर आपको 10, if you have to just review the file, if you want to just read your account number सही है कि account number सही नहीं, that's a very draining job, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll get tired by doing it after 30 minutes.
That's a tedious job. That's horrible.
Yeah. So a lot of businesses, I think, I mean, first people are recognizing, ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं कर रहे, a lot of businesses recognize कि day one पे I have to be tech savvy so that I can reduce my cost. But I believe more awareness could be helpful.
It's only about awareness. Let's say किसी को awareness है कि मुझे करना है, वो उसके लिए next step क्या होना चाहिए?
Next step, I think they can like start looking out.
Okay.
Right. I mean, we as a company are also trying to do a good job in communication. We try to be in front of them here. If you have this problem, and we write use cases. And we have use cases for say D2C industry. We have use cases for insurance industry.
Yeah.
And that could be the starting reference point for them.
Fair.
Because we understand that D2C में ये problems आता है and these are solutions ready. So that could be starting point for them, right? Like how do I run a scalable D2C company, right? And they can read about stuff which we have written. And I'm sure similar companies, someone is in the marketing industry, they might have written something else. So they can start looking at these 3-4 verticals, right? Marketing, like having online presence, payments, banking, and they can at least they'll have a starting point.
Yeah.
Right? They know who to reach out.
So okay, let's go back and dive into your journey. Okay, first is you tell me like first how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah.
And like why? Okay, and when what age? Like I want to know everything.
So when I was like say in 2009, 19 years of like I was 18, 19 that time, and I was in Hyderabad like in college, and we had companies who used to approach students in campus to get their stuff built.
Okay.
Right, so we had some skill set around how to build a good web application and all. We met them.
Okay.
And that was first exposure to real industry, like solution building. Right, see, everyone spent 4 years in college, but they end up just doing college project.
Yeah.
And college projects are not scrutinized in a very stronger way, right? Because वो चलता है, ठीक है, चल रहा है, it's fine, you get the number. But moment you start building for real customer, they go hard on you.
Yeah.
Right? They say, यार ये सही चलना चाहिए. If there is a failure, you have to fix it. I mean, it's more about being more disciplined, right? Everything has a timeline, everything has a quality bar. So that gave me good exposure, like how to build it. And then just built on top of it, right? Then after that company, we contracted some other company. Right, so पूरा 4 साल college went to a part-time job plus studies. So by the time I graduated, I had like
part-time इतना होगा कि full-time जितना experience हो गया.
And they were very well-paid job, right? At that time, we used to get like 60-70K per month.
Wow.
Like back in 2000, like 11.
Wow.
It was a lot of money for anyone who's studying.
Yeah, it is like when I was in college.
You don't even know कहाँ spend करना है.
I was in college, सब अच्छा placement मतलब 40,000 50,000 मिल गया job तो भाई बहुत बढ़िया place and that was 2013. True. Crazy.
So that was the thing. And then like after that the thing we were working on didn't work out. We thought कि यार काम कर लेते 1-2 साल and that was good decision. Right, I worked at Amazon 2.5 years and there I got to see how bigger companies work. Right, how do they manage their high scale process. See, I mean, it's easy to hire a team of 1,000 people, but difficult to make them very aligned. And make sure that productivity is more like being added rather than subtracting.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the hard thing, but that's something you learn only in a very established company who works like a clockwork, right? They know कि किसके roles responsibility क्या है, they have their areas defined.
Let's go deep on this and then we move forward because there's a very essential part for every startup founder who's trying to build something. कि they hire, let's say 20 people, 200 people, whatever, right? They don't know what 20 people are supposed to do and how to keep them aligned on everyday basis because it's so difficult. Like so difficult. You just, as a founder, I face this problem a lot. Like you just assume that, hey, isko to aata hai, kar lega. Right? So how do you make sure that you believe, you said like you learn that there.
Yeah. So when you are starting up, you have to look at the attitude of people and you have to look at some strong skills around analytics and all, right? Can this guy comprehend what is happening? Right? Can this guy connect a dot? Right? So these are 2 factors you need. One is the attitude of learning. See, a lot of times in startups, you hire someone who is very accomplished.
Yeah.
So they may not be willing to put enough energy to learn something or be successful. So everyone wants to continue to grow in life, right? No matter where they are. अगर आप एवरेस्ट के बेस कैंप भी जा रहे हो, you'll have ambition कि मैं I just go to the top. But guy who is sitting on the ground, base camp itself is a big achievement.
Yep.
Right? So you have to find guys who wants to make it. Right, because definitely as a startup, you cannot promise someone to be a top, right? You cannot say, yeah, you will be doing 100 million revenue. That's not possible. You will be doing 10 million revenue. But already if someone is managing a business of 10, 20 million revenue, there would be less excitement for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Very
so
difficult
look
for
at
them
the end goal. So you have to find people and those guys help you grow and build the company in a much better way. That is the number one thing we always look for. Right?
Someone who has an experience of going, from 0 to 10 and 10 to 100, but is ready to do the 0 to 100 again.
Yeah. Depends, right? I mean, depends. I mean, there will be very few people who will do it. So it's much easier to find people who want to grow with the company.
Okay.
Right? Someone who wants to grow with the company. मतलब थोड़ा किया हो, but they haven't, hit that destination.
Oh. So let's say, what was your key learning in Amazon? Like one thing if you can highlight, कि boss ये Amazon ने बहुत सही सिखा दिया. Like this was bang on.
Reviews. So Amazon used to do weekly business review in a very disciplined way every week.
Okay.
And once you start doing reviews, right, you end up asking a lot of harder questions to yourself, and you go deeper. If a metrics is not changing, data is not changing, then what was the root cause of it? So the entire debugging skill in business is what I learned. I mean, I learned another thing, but this was a very crucial thing I learned. Right? If you review a business after, it's more about retrospection, right? एक साल बाद, it's true for any business, right? After a month, you should look back. यार, मतलब this is what I planned. ये नहीं हो रहा है. And then where am I failing? And then you start working backwards. But काफी time होता है यार, there is no like full-time owner for this work. Right? That's why ये problem होता है, because as a founder, शुरू में लगता है कि I can spend time on 10 things, a result आ जाएगा. But few problems require more time commitment. It's not about intelligence, right? लोग लगते हैं ये तो बहुत trivial job है. Sometimes trivial job could be volumetric.
Yeah.
उसके लिए you have to give time, right? उसको दिन में 4 घंटे देने हैं. If you're just giving half an hour, you'll not get the right result.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to reach to that point, right? Take काफी example है. If you're doing D2C as a founder, I can do marketing, I can talk with my developer, I can do 10 things.
Yep.
But if you walk back, you'll figure out ये मेरा marketing optimized नहीं था. And even though I'm trying to do my best, see, lot of if you as a founder think यार मतलब I'm doing everything best, अब कुछ हो नहीं सकता है. Then you have to think, am I spending enough time on it? Right? Do I even know all the problems? Right? So you have to start like self-doubt a little bit. Right? I mean, you cannot do a lot, otherwise it will erode your confidence.
Yeah.
But वो थोड़ा logical होना पड़ेगा with yourself.
Be like play like a devil's advocate with yourself.
That's needed, right? That's how you start growing, and that's how you'll know. Yeah, if I going to hire someone, what will be his goal, his target? Everyone will want to know that, right? If you are bringing me in a company, मुझे क्या करना है? That's a basic question people will ask.
Yeah.
And you have to articulate very well, right? This is where I am. These are the challenges, and I have to get these things fixed. And there could be more problems in the future, which I don't know today.
Yep.
Right? Something you have to figure out. But these are the 5 problems I know, and there could be 5 more problems, say in next 1 year if you do things. But it will be figured out.
True.
So people should know कि यार next 6 महीने या 1 साल में these are things I have to solve, and then things will grow. Fair. And as business scales up, problems बढ़ता है. I mean it's the universal law. अगर आप 100 customers serve कर रहे हो, tomorrow if you're serving 1 lakh customer, you will have a lot of new problems automatically.
Oh, 100%.
Irrespective आपने कितना भी existing optimize कर लिया है.
With every stage you wanna go make sure that it's a new problem which is gonna make sure that ये नया fuck up आ गया, अब इसको solve करो.
True, and it all comes down to your like time management. I mean, you have enough brains to put in this problem, right? I mean, everyone has a human capacity, right? I mean, they can only work for 8 hours and they can only produce this much output.
Fair. So now let's go back to the Amazon journey again. You learned this in Amazon, and then you were working for how long did you work?
Almost 2.5 years.
Okay. And 2.5 years में you were sorted with an idea of like boss अब मेरे को खुद का startup करना है.
So we started slightly before that.
Okay.
We spent almost 4 to 5 months in like narrowing down on this payments idea.
Okay. And the payments were specifically because of the same problem and the economy, which was growing, and there was no ecosystem. So you said, why not we become an ecosystem? So what's up?
And we validated also, right? I mean, even before writing a single line of code, we tried getting a customer. Yeah, this is I am building. Will you buy it or not? And we even went to a stage where we were doing agreement with one guy. Yeah, ये मेरा costly है. So see, in a business, 2 things important. One is what you're solving. There will be need in the market, right? But a business can only be built if people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
So a lot of entrepreneurs, founders fall in this, like blind spot of कि यार ये तो अच्छा problem है, लोगों का need है, and they spend their 4-5 years on it, without validating are people willing to pay for it or not. Right. So I mean, and I see a lot of people being. See, I worked in co-working spaces for initial 3-4 years. I have looked around people. And this now I learned later, right? Why these guys were not successful despite solving a very right problem.
Because there's a need.
Yeah, there's a need, but it's not a want, or people are not willing to spend on it.
Fair.
Right? Say simple example, and everyone say, "Yeah, I can, like I can buy Mercedes." Right? No one will say no, and we will put here Mercedes चाहिए, मैं आज बना के दूंगा, but they're not willing to pay for it. How will you solve it? So you have to build something that they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that is defined by market and your product appeal, right? I mean, like imagine like 6 years back, who would have thought of buying a mobile phone at 1 lakh rupees? No one can think like that, right? Aaj it's easy. right? Everyone is carrying one iPhone very comfortably.
Yeah.
But 6-7 साल पहले it was
idea नहीं था होगा.
हाँ, exactly. Because one is market भी mature, plus product also has become more appealing. So that is where the product market fit is what we use a lot. Right?
So you feel, let's say, so talking about good ideas, I want to break this down and summarize the whole thing. So talking about good idea, like how do you spot like a good idea and a good opportunity? The first is you look at an infrastructure. What is, let's say, if the growth story of India is building or the growth story of an industry is building, what part of infrastructure is missing? That's what you look at first.
Okay.
Second is you go to, like, you try to find out, like, is there even a need for it? Will people pay for it or no? And then once you realize that people will pay for it, then you feel like, how do I make my product more appealing and more sexy in order to make sure that it has an aspirational value, that it sticks and people are ready to pay more, right? These are the top 3 things which you feel is an idea, or you want to add more?
Aspirational would be come slightly later, right? See, as a startup, whatever you build on day one will be of very average quality.
Yeah.
That you have to admit. If you spend enough time in building something very great, then you're already late. But what is more important is the market, whether there's demand for it or not. But imagine if you go to any tier 3 city in India, आपने काफ़ी, like business center बना दिए. But there's no demand. I mean, who will come and work there? मतलब I'll see यार मैं बना दूंगा, demand आ जाएगा, but that doesn't happen.
But ऐसा बहुत सारे, if you look at the large startups, they did this, right? कि उन्होंने बोला बना देंगे, demand आ जाएगा. Like there was no TAM for them, there was no market for them.
नहीं, but दो चीज़ होता है ना. There's a demand, but there's no right product.
Okay.
So you have to start with the demand.
So coming to an example, like I was reading about it, right? So जैसे Google, so कोई demand नहीं था, कोई market नहीं था, कोई product नहीं था search engine का, right?
Search engine was around before Google, right? I mean, there were directory services, right? I mean, all the
yellow pages and stuff, yeah.
And it started with like booklet आता था ना घर पे. People had a need of finding something very fast. Same thing happens in banking, payments industry. See, payments and banking inherently it is digital by definition. वहाँ पे कुछ real होता नहीं है. So what we did, right? We created physical asset out of digital thing.
Okay.
Right? Because end of the day, bank में आपका number ही होता है, data ही होता है. But you have created branch so that people can come and know that data. Right? So that is changing. That was force fit, right? Normally होता नहीं है. It's digital by default.
Yeah.
But payment has to be digital. But we created physical manifestation out of something digital.
So talk more about like banking system in India, how did it got evolved and where do you see it going? Let's just talk about future.
See, banking system, I think good part is it matured slightly later. I think in a lot of other words, right? Banking has evolved much earlier.
Yeah.
Right? वहाँ पे they have built a lot of legacy system and they're still busy maintaining it. Given that India, a lot of things started very, very late, right? We have been able to leapfrog and come to the right solution very fast. Even if you start with core banking, payments, right? India is very ahead of the global market because we thought about present. Baki countries, there has been resistance about preserving what has been there. And people, I mean, same problem, right? I mean, the example we took on the businesses in India who are unable to change the process. That same problem is in other geographies, other industries, right? But given that if you start solving for some problem today, right? Obviously, you use the fresh ideas. Yeah. And that's why India has been able to leapfrog on fintech much better than other countries.
But so you love, like, till now, whatever conversation we have, you love talking about India growth story. You love understanding that. Like, what's your take on where is India moving? What do you feel like? What's the big story for us? Because a lot of startups, a lot of people around the world, they say that, boss, India consumer buying capacity नहीं है.
Yeah.
Right? Like इंडिया में ब्रांड्स नहीं बन सकता क्योंकि बाइंग कैपेसिटी बहुत कम है. तो कितने भी ब्रांड्स बना दो, कितने भी कर दो. We talk about D2C, we talk about all these things, right? But where are the customers? The GDP is very low. Like the average income per house is very low. So where is the growth story going? Like, what do you feel? Like, I'm interested because I believe in Indian growth story as well.
Yeah, that's and I'll tell you my take. It's more like a chicken and egg problem, right? I think we have to start thinking about serving basic needs of the people. And then they can start. I'll take example. Let's take example of a farmer in a rural village. Right? If you have to buy something, आज उसको you have to take a small bus. वो शहर आता है. He'll go to the bank, withdraw like 5,000 rupees, go back to his village, and then buy something. Every day, not every day, once in a week, he'll spend like 5 to 6 hours just doing this.
Yeah.
Now, if I replace the entire process with a card in the hand of a farmer, right? So he can save 6 hours, 7 hours, very productive hours. He doesn't have to travel to a town, right? City नहीं जाना पड़ेगा. And he can do better work in his produce. Very basic example, but very relevant.
Yeah.
तो वो 6 घंटे अपने farming ज़्यादा time दे पाएगा. And that will help him grow his business, right? जो भी वो produce करे, that will increase it. Right? So we have to think about bringing efficiency in the system. And fintech, I believe, is a big enabler of economy, right? If you're able to give more time back in the hand of businesses, then they'll start producing more.
Yeah.
And that will create a cyclic effect in the economy, because that guy will become richer. And once he becomes richer, obviously, he can buy more.
His
Once
buying
he starts
capacity
going
increases.
more, then there will be a lot of businesses encouraged to sell to that guy. So pehle we have to start with the entire efficiency, right? Efficiency. How can I make people more efficient? Abhi India mein time bahut waste hota hai, right? Because of infrastructure, right? I mean, take example any like travel ho gaya, and payments has been such a slow process for a long time, right? Kafi time people spend time, and that is not letting people spend time on things which are important for them. Second thing was the access to capital, right? I have great idea, but no one is helping me to kickstart, right?
Yeah.
Even if I have to set a small business, that requires money. In other markets, that has been easier after 70s, 80s, right? I mean, like, people trust more, and they have the entire trail here. If I give money to this guy, he can repay me in say 18 months, 20 months. Indian challenge is more about data, right? I mean, a lot of guys don't have a data trail.
Yeah.
No one knows right, whether this guy has made money in his past business or not, because it was primarily cash driven.
Yeah.
Now there, if this guy starts using digital payments, right, at least he's creating a history. So I can simply look at that history, right, and I can verify his detail.
And give him access to capital.
Exactly, right. So ye do problem. One is access to capital, second is efficiency. And that will help businesses produce more, right? That will increase, that will like put money in the bag of people. Even say employees are working in business, right? They'll start earning more. And that will create the market, and that will make the market bigger. And this phenomena has been happening, right? I mean, every year India is pulling more than 50-60 lakhs people out of poverty for last 20 years, right? Every year, right? And this is happening. I mean, if you have to look at growth of any country, it's not fair to look at the growth of last 5 to 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Because see, that is something you'll do for human being, right? Yaar, us 6 saal mein kya kiya? But if you look at country, you have to look at 50 years. Ki usne 50 saal mein kya kiya? And that is where you'll see the entire curve going up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you have to believe, even though what we are building, we are thinking like 10 years ahead. Because I know 10 saal baad India, there will be like 20, 30 companies like Flipkart, Amazon. And they'll have huge demand around payments banking system. But that time, will they have the right infrastructure to handle this kind of traffic or not?
And that's what
we have to prepare today. Right? I mean, whatever baby steps we are taking, that is the end goal, right? Agar kal ko, and at some point we'll hit that saturation point. And at that time, and this is again same thing, right? I mean, like if you have the access right supply, then only you can innovate more. And we have seen businesses who started on cash free on day one, right? I mean, we have a lot of, you can take example of Cred. Right? Cred started their business on day zero at cash free, and they've been able to scale up their entire payments on the back of cash free. And suppose there was no cash free that time.
Yeah.
It would have been very difficult. I mean, they might have been possible, they might not be, right? But since we were around, they've been able to scale up very well.
Quickly.
Right? And in a very reliable way. And that is something we have been very proud of, right? So a lot of good businesses we have seen in the last 7 years have been successful on the back of the infrastructure that we have built, right? And that will be defining moment for all the next set of startups that come up in India.
You mentioned about Cred, right? Yeah. And the Kunal, I heard is one of the reels or the shorts was going viral that every business in future is going to be fintech business, right? So what's your take on that? Like, if he believes like fintech is no more going to be an industry, fintech is going to be an essential feature in every industry. So do you feel like there's some merit to it, or like what are your views on it?
See, it depends on the industry. If you talk about B2C consumer apps, right, there might be some incentive. See, because every B2C app will loyalty.
Yeah.
Right. They want to have customers working with them or buying with them. Right. And once customer starts trusting them, they can lock them in by giving more loyalty. Right. And that is where the market is moving. Okay. Right. If you are running a travel company, आज मैंने आपका flight और hotel book कर दिया, but forex card के लिए आपको बैंक के पास जाना पड़ता है. Right, but if you're already booking flight and hotel, मुझे पता है you're going to US or Europe, right? I can say ये USD card ले लो मेरे से ही. Right? So that is one way to look at it, right? So companies who are in the business of selling goods to services, they can be a distribution agent to financial product, and that is where the world will move. But it cannot happen कि यार आज मैं selling a laptop hardware. I mean, depends, right? If I want to like increase my sales, I myself can give loan to the customer.
Yeah.
Right, so that way you can be fintech. So people are just trying to maximize their business revenue. They want to have more stickiness, and they want to make life of customer easier. And for that, they may have to get into the business of distributing financial services also.
A lot of small businesses are very driven out of personalized, tailor-made services for a lot of people, right? Yeah. But there are few things which are standard for them, and there are few technology which are standard for them. So since you're in fintech, you're finances, right? So finance is pretty much going to be standard for them. It's not going to be very, मतलब हर एक small business अपना खुद का एक integrated financial system नहीं बना सकता. They have to use like existing infrastructure, right? So how do you feel like how can every small business, though they are supremely differentiated in their own region, how can they use existing service like yours, or maybe how can they take help of the growing fintech or the technology which is growing out there? Like how can you help small businesses?
In offline world, right, payments happen after the purchase. वहाँ पे परचेज पे इफेक्ट नहीं आता इफ समथिंग रॉन्ग विद पेमेंट्स. आई कैन ऑलवेज गो टू द ATM. दुकान वाले बोले यार कल पैसा दे देना, इट्स फाइन. सो परचेज में दैट्स मिनिमम इम्पैक्ट, राइट. वो होता है, मतलब पीपल विल बाय. बट ऑनलाइन में समथिंग रॉन्ग इन द पेमेंट, आपका परचेज नहीं होगा. What will people do, right? वो बोलेंगे यार चल नहीं रहा है, और I cannot make a payment, they'll drop out. And it's more painful for small business. For larger companies, right, they look at it as a metric. यार 2% कस्टमर नहीं परचेज कर पाए. For smaller business देखें से यार 10 लोग नहीं कर पाए, it's a big deal for them. Right? Bigger companies can afford it because it's larger metric, and they know yeah they'll come back, right? I mean, it doesn't impact them a lot because they're already large. They'll see it as a number. But smaller business who's trying to take off the ground 0 to 1 जाना, every customer is important. वहाँ पे 1 या 2 फेलियर 5 फेलियर हुआ, then it's a big deal for them. And we have been working with a lot of small businesses. And initially, a lot of businesses are very small, right? Selling small, like food startup in Pune, fitness startup say in like Bombay, right? And there was some events company in Gurgaon, decent small businesses, like doing 50 lakhs, 70 lakhs, and they're extremely caring about their customers. And that also gave us a good insight that इनके लिए एक customer important है, and it's they also get very emotional about it, and that's valid, right? You become, because 100%. You are putting your like entire heart and soul in this business, like working 15 hours every day. And for a small gig, you are losing your sale, you're losing your customer. You are unable to build a brand. You are unable to build a trust. And that pains them a lot, right? Rather than revenue, वो secondary है. But वो एक अर्ज आता है यार जो मैंने बनाया है, that should reach to last set of people. And when that doesn't happen, you start panicking, right? So we start with that. So once the payment is say smooth, streamlined, next is how can I like encourage customer to keep coming back to me. Okay. Right? एक बार उसने मेरे साथ खरीद लिया है, then how do I make sure ये मेरे पास ही आ रहा है? Right? And if customers repeat, right, I can afford to give him like some discount because he's a loyal customer. I'm already making money, and it's okay for me to just give him discount and also build trust with him, right? And for that also, it's again comes back to your ability to build such kind of system, right? Given that we or any payment system knows how frequent this customer shops with you, right? I mean, we also help them with the entire loyalty, entire reward, right? So they can always come back. And we suggest them, this is a repeat customer. ये last 3 महीने में 10 बार खरीदा है. Why don't you incentivize him more so that he only buys from you? Because beyond the point, customer has choices, right? अगर वो मतलब उसको लगे यार यहाँ तो यहाँ भी मिल रहा है, and don't think a lot, right? It becomes very subconscious choice कि यार ये भी वही दे रहा, मैं ले लेता हूँ. But the first party where I've shot for 4-5 times, he's like showing his loyalty back. वो मुझे डिस्काउंट दे रहा because I will be purchasing and will be sticking to that guy. So that's the next set of problem that these guys can face.
So but how do you help there? Like what's the process?
It's data analytics. We have the entire data, right? We can suggest them here, these are the repeat customers, these are first time customers, and this is what you can do to increase conversion.
Oh, nice. So there's a on your platform itself, there's a way to look at that. Dude, that's a massive problem of the data analytics.
Correct.
What all do you tell about, like I want to know like what all do you tell?
And small businesses cannot do it, right? It's a very tech intensive problem.
Oh yes.
Right? And they don't have right talent or time to even solve these problems, right? I mean, that's the thing. Bigger companies can do it. They have resources. Small business cannot. And they need support.
Yep.
And third is, if you're selling a high ticket product, if you're selling 10,000 rupees product, for example, let's say if you have a fitness training institute and you want to train, like instructors. So these guys already are working on very low wage. Right? You're selling course of 10,000, 20,000 rupees, and they can only afford to pay you 2,000 per month. They cannot do it. Right? Then how do I, like encourage these guys to? So they like the product, they want to be part of you, but उनके पास पैसे नहीं है. So there you need some kind of, like EMI solution, part payment solution. कि यार आप sign up कर लो. Instead of paying me entire money in one shot, right? You just split it out. You pay me in 5 months, 6 months. Right? And this payment ecosystem can again help you convert that purchase. Right? If you don't have a payment system which can help you split the payment, then you lose that sale, right? And you won't be encouraged to do high ticket size. मतलब as a business, my thought यार ये 10,000 को खरीदेगा नहीं. Let's think about product जो 1,000, 2,000 में I can have reach. But if your product is very appealing and there is very personal to you, you want to sell such product. So these are the again, I just took very simple examples, but very relevant.
Okay.
And 90% businesses, I think, can be benefited if they do just 3.
100%. 100%. I want to go deeper on last 2 points. Okay. The first was straight up that, hey, you need, and you want to make sure that you need a seamless payments option where your drops are happening less. Like that's the biggest problem, because
it works
customer गया तो खत्म हो गया, because और वो वापस आ भी नहीं रहा, यार इसमें पेमेंट चलता नहीं है.
Exactly.
कभी and sometimes it's like तुम्हारे अकाउंट में से पैसे कट गए, फिर वो 3 घंटे बाद वापस आते हैं, तो 3 घंटे के लिए यू आर गेटिंग वेरी पैनिकी. इट्स लाइक, ओ मेरा पेमेंट कट गया, कुछ नहीं हुआ, राइट? तो दीज आर द एक्सपीरियंसेस व्हिच पीपल डोंट वांट. फर्स्ट इज अंडरस्टैंड. सेकंड इज द डेटा एनालिटिक्स, राइट? आई एम सुपर इंटरेस्टेड इन दैट. टेल मी like 3 or 4 places where you can help like a lot. जैसे first you said you can give people data of, hey, तुम्हारे इतने customers हैं जो वापस बार बार आते हैं. Correct. So these are the people you should focus more on. You should try to focus or build more narratives, or maybe upsell them, or like build something, like give them more lucrative offers or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that is one. What are the other things like data analytics where you help?
A lot of relevant things, right? Suppose I can tell you here, you're in a week, right? In a week, आपका 30% sales Tuesday को आता है. A lot of people may not even look at this data.
Yeah.
But if I can tell you, Tuesday को आपका sales ज़्यादा आता है, they can keep their teams more ready. They can tell the customer support team be more ready because orders ज़्यादा है, and they can like be more prepared, right? Because that is the day I'm going to get more sale, right? And that I can tell them. The second is about the timing, right? मेरा sale रात को 11 से 1 के बीच में होता है. I'll make sure I have like on-call people awake at that time, and so that I don't get surprises.
Yeah.
If customer has a question that time, then I make sure my chat support has more people to support them. Because questions आते हैं, they'll ask, right? I mean, like, will this work or not? What is the color I'll get, right? You need to make people available. So that will tell businesses what to do to, have a strong sales and keep growing the sales using these data. And a lot of these data, that's hard to crunch, right? I mean, as a business, you don't have ability to accept it. It's just in a number database, right? आप क्या करोगे? And third is more about the geographies. I can tell you, यार आपका ज़्यादा sales होता है पुणे से. Right? Then you think about what can I do to incentivize more Pune customers, because that market is responding well to my product, right? Yeah. Because a lot of products could have geographical appeal. Suppose you're selling a raincoat, right? I mean, raincoat, no one will buy in a place where rainfall is very scarce, right? I mean that's natural to think, but at the same time, data can validate that thought.
Yeah, sometimes there's few things which are very, very common, but you realize after looking at the data कि यार ये तो बहुत uncommon था. For example, I was looking at the masala sales of one of the companies, right? They started selling online recently. Yeah. And they got to know that out of their, let's say, 20 different types of masalas, there's a specific area in South, specific city, not even state, like specific city, which orders sambar masala the most. Versus there's a specific city in near Kolkata, in West Bengal, where pav bhaji masala was selling the most, right? So this is the data which you meant by like
true,
because it might be so obvious कि pav bhaji masala तो हर किसी को चाहिए होता है, but the moment you get to know, oh, this is the city where people are taking pav bhaji masala the maximum, sometimes it's not even common. Because to me, the moment you think about pav bhaji masala, like Bombay में सबसे ज़्यादा बिकता होगा, right? And when they had an insight, it just shifted the whole narrative.
See, data makes you more intelligent, right? End of the day, right? I mean, you have access to more knowledge, and you can make more intelligent choices in running a business. You can scale faster.
Yeah.
It also increases your success probability. And that is something payment system can be very helpful. I'll tell you one more use case, that we have signed up one merchant very early who are selling like high-end watches.
Okay.
Right? Watch would be, like 1.5 lakh, 1.4 lakh.
Nice.
Offline world में sometimes you bargain, right? कि यार इसमें इतने में दे दो, I can pay like instead of paying 1.5, I'll pay 130. वहाँ पे that guy can create an invoice and do 130.
Yeah.
Online it gets difficult, right? Because I cannot change my price dynamically, right? Customer, he's willing to buy, and you don't want to lose a sale, right? I mean, suppose on the default listing price you are making 15% margin, and you're reducing the price, you're still making 10%. You want sale to happen. Yeah. But online, how do you manage? Price define कर दिया. Even though customer is saying, I am ready to buy this product, but you don't have ability to sell.
Yep.
Right? I mean, one thing you can ask, यार आप मुझे बैंक ट्रांसफर कर दो, मैं शिप कर दूंगा. But customers cannot do it, right? I mean, वो मतलब 10 में से एक बंदा करेगा, everyone will not do. So there you need something like, we have product called payment link. Right? So I can directly go to Cashfree, I can create a new order and add the amount which I want to get from the customer.
Custom order.
And I can share the link with the customer. So it's more like a payment gateway experience, but more direct. And there are a lot of small businesses who sell on, say, Instagram, right? They'll put a nice catalog. People will come chat with them, यार ये मुझे खरीदना है. But how will I pay, right? I mean, you can say मेरे बैंक ट्रांसफर में कर दो. But there's a trust issue. मैंने पैसा भेज दिया and if you don't ship the product, मैं क्या करूँ? And that's why a lot of these guys need intermediaries. See, business ka larger goal is to establish trust between buyer and seller.
Yeah.
Unless you have a very good brand. And that is a payment system can help you establish that trust. It's not just about payment. It's also giving comfort to the customer. Ki third party agent hai, which is like, regulated, which is like having the right checks and balance. If something goes wrong, he'll help you with the dispute. So as a seller, you can gain more trust by using payment system instead of directly interacting. Yeah, you cannot say UPI kar do, NEFT kar do. And given that a lot of cyber, like frauds happen, right? People are not willing to do it.
Fair. Nice.
And if you want to scale the business, you have to use it to have additional brand with you.
You've seen immense data. You've seen businesses growing. You've seen businesses failing. You understand a larger thread of it, right? So tell me like the common patterns of like businesses which you feel that they failed. Let's say these are the top 2 reasons why businesses failed. Or like maybe based on your data. I'm not talking about, you cannot generalize things because every business fails for a different reason.
Exactly.
So, but like from a larger point, what do you feel like you saw a certain pattern कि यार ये लोग ये manage नहीं कर पा रहे थे, इसमें ये हुआ from your data point of view?
So I can tell you in the perspective of payments, banking, uske around, right? So we have come across businesses who have a very good product, right? But appeal for those products is less in India, more outside, right? Take example, you are building some ethnic product and trying to sell it, and you're spending a lot of time. आप 15-20 हज़ार में बेच रहे हो ethnic product. But there's a big Indian diaspora who are settled in say US, UK, Australia. But for them, it's a very attractive product. आपको आप उनको बेचना है, right? So how do you do it? You can put a website, a payment system ले लो. But if your payment system is unable to accept payment from these guys, then you cannot make a sale. And that product doesn't have a lot of demand in India, right? Because यहाँ पे it's a very common thing, right? यहाँ पे it's like everywhere you get it. But वहाँ पे it's a niche thing.
Yeah.
Right? You can show it off. कि यार I'm wearing the high-end Indian.
Ethnic wear, yeah.
Exactly. So there we see, you have the right product, you have the right intention, but you are, like unable to solve this payment problem. And then you cannot see a growth in the business. That is something we have seen in history, right?
So that's like just this lack of understanding of where to price your product and how much and how to do that. Is that what you're making sense?
Price and also have the right ability to accept money for them. And second is what we have seen, right? A lot of times payment system become costly for them. And to accommodate that cost, right? So if you use a payment processor globally, आपको 5 to 7% बेचना पड़ता है. You have to add a markup. And to accommodate 5 to 7% markup, you'll increase the price of your product.
Yeah.
And for that, you become globally less competitive. Right? But for that, you need payment system which is very cheaper. Just I can reduce my margin, make my price more competitive, and I can be more successful in global world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
no, fair. So now let's talk about the growth story, okay? Yeah. Here, like now, would you believe that every small business can gain from these kind of systems? And so, but for this, like a lot of small businesses need to come online. Do you feel that every small business will eventually come online or no?
They are, right? I mean, the reason is small business coming online because a lot of innovation has happened in payment system, right? Otherwise, it would have been impossible, right? A lot of innovative ideas would have been impossible, right? If you didn't have a right payment system in India. Right, and that's the starting point. Now people are encouraged because see, creating website was possible 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
कुछ challenge नहीं था, right? Commerce was a challenge, right? And which started around 2009, 10, 11, right? India में भी things started with very basic thing, like online app ticket ले सकते हो, bill pay कर सकते हो, and then commerce got proliferated in last 10 years. उससे पहले commerce था नहीं. Everything was possible, right? Marketing हो रहा था, website बन रहा था, but payments नहीं हो रहा था, right? That's why commerce was not happening. And that's why people are not encouraged to do online business a lot. So growth in fintech, growth in payments will encourage more people to come online because it's implicitly good for the business, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have extremely touch and feel product. I mean, it's a very small case, but even there people are able to do it, right?
But so what my eventually question was like, do you feel like so India right now is also, we feel the backbone of India small businesses, right? It's largely offline driven. In fact, I was reading a study that even in US, the online ecosystem is only 25%. 75% is still brick and mortar.
Correct.
So India mein, I'm sure the number is going to be super less. Like I don't think 5-10% se bhi upar hoga.
I don't think so. So India has problem around real estate. There's problem around infrastructure, right? And real estate is also costlier here compared to other countries.
Yeah.
Right. And if you want to be competitive, if you want to make product price cheaper, right, then you have to try online. There is no other way. So
you feel like more and more people are going to come online?
That's default route in India already, right? I mean, like online first businesses are going to happen. I think more than 50% business in India are online first even today, right? That's how they start. be it fintech, be it goods, be it services, and that's how they got. Because renting a shop is very costly, right? Ek to you can't get a place in premium area.
Yeah.
But second, you have to pay humongous costs. So investment is a lot.
No, I was talking about like, let's say people who are already offline, this last setups. Now they want to go from a growth story of कि boss मैं 10 लाख का तो बेच लेता हूँ, अब मुझे 15 लाख करना है, 20 लाख करना है, 25 लाख करना है. Do you feel these people are going to come online? And if they come online, how will they market themselves? Because it's such noisy and cluttery, because not every product is innovative, right? There are large majority of people and large majority of businesses who are only acing because of the regional play, because of the geography play. कि मैं इस सिटी की बिजिएस्ट स्ट्रीट में मेरी दुकान है तो मेरी चलेगी क्योंकि फुटफॉल इतना हैवी है, मेरा चलेगा, राइट? नाउ दैट पर्सन वांट्स टू बी लाइक मेरी एक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक शॉप एग्जांपल, आई सेल हेडफोन्स, राइट? सो मैं इलेक्ट्रॉनिक शॉप है, हेडफोन्स है, मैं इंदौर में बेचता हूँ एक जगह पे, और वहाँ पे मेन मार्केट है, वहाँ पे रोज़ 2 लाख लोग निकलते हैं, तो मुझे पता है कि कुछ ना कुछ करके मेरा बिक ही जाएगा. नाउ आई सेल लेट्स से 2 lakhs a day. How do I make it to 3 lakh, 4 lakh a day? The obvious stuff is coming online. But do you have any view on, like, let's say, how will they sell then? Because it's so difficult for them to stand out. क्योंकि वहाँ पे तो वो लोग space का arbitrage था उनके पास, location arbitrage. Online क्या arbitrage होगा? Like, just asking you, like, from point of view.
True, right? I mean, see, in the offline world, you get 2 lakh footfall, but internet, you have like crores of people there. So footfall ज़्यादा है. Now your job is how to attract them.
Exactly. It's so difficult to get them.
2 ways to compete for any business. One is like having a very differentiated product. Second is your service quality, right? These are the only 2 ways for them to, like have a unique presence. अगर आप जो बेच रहे हो, which is no one else is selling, then people will find you online and you can be successful. But if what you are selling is also sold by 10 other guys, then you can only compete on service, right? Either it's a good customer service, either you make your entire journey reliable, like trusted, right? Ability to be flexible, and that's how you can attract people over a period of time, right? I mean, day one pay, obviously there will be a noise, but you have to start somewhere.
Like starting में कैसे भी करके convince कर लो 10 लोगों को and give them the kind of service which 10 people will eventually make noise.
Correct. It also depends on the business, right? If a business extremely localized है, then it's difficult. I'm not saying that every business can be successful online, right? I mean, that's hard. And there are a lot of winners already in certain space. Today it's difficult to start a like horizontal e-commerce company. It's difficult. I mean, it's not impossible, but difficult.
Yeah, difficult because of obviously it largely solved problems.
Correct. So you can always look after something new, right? Something that is your unique strength, and that has to be there. Otherwise, what is the point of starting business if you don't have any unique strength?
Okay, let's just talk about this a bit. Okay, like I love talking about startups and why startups fail or why startups succeed. You are fairly running like a large successful startup as of now, and you have seen your journey. Like you went to YC also. You've started your journey. Like in college, maybe you were doing a couple of things, and you did job. So you've seen ups and downs, right? What do you feel like? What are the top 3 key attributes which makes a startup successful, as per you?
See, starting point is the market, right? If you have a large enough market, even though you start at a not so optimized place, eventually you'll come up with the right product and service if the market is big, right? So choosing the right market is very, very important for startup, right? Suppose you're selling something which is very niche market. I'm selling a bracelet of 40,000 rupees. Market will not be that big, right? Ever, right? But if you're selling a fitness band of 2,000 rupees, people are fitness conscious.
Yeah.
And this market will continue to grow.
Yeah.
Right. So then I have higher chance of being successful. So that is the starting point. Like market has to be big.
Plus information is always like a good market. Like you tell people about themselves more, it's always a good market. Like it's just bound to
coming to that. So one is market is starting point. Second is the product what you are building.
Okay.
Right. I mean, product has to be like appealing. It should be solving a need or want of the people. Right. I mean, it's something. Right. I mean, their needs and wants are defined for the people. Right. I mean, there are like 4 or 5 key areas. Right. Either people want to like improve the lifestyle. Right. They want to save time.
Yeah.
Right. They want to like enjoy their life more. Right. So these are 4 or 5 areas, and you have to bucket your product in one of those areas.
Yeah.
If you're a B2C, obviously if you're B2B, I mean, you have to think about the businesses. Right. What are the challenges of the businesses? How can I help businesses make more money? How can I help businesses get more customers? Because these are key problems. And if you're not solving key problem for your customer, be it as a business or end consumer, it will be difficult for you to scale up. It has to be a very key problem, one of the big problems for them. And there are a lot. And for that, you'll have to do research. You have to understand people. It's a bit psychological, but you have to understand people. You have to understand either business if you want to do B2B, or you have to understand consumer. right? Like why consumers are looking for this.
So I have a like a slightly broader perspective on this. That how do you come up with like exactly what you said, exactly with a good idea. I feel every idea is good if your idea or your business or your startup is increasing pleasure and reducing pain.
Okay.
Right? For whether it's B2B or B2C. If you're B2B, if you're increasing the pleasure of a business and reducing their pain points, you are in a good business.
Yeah, so pleasure for B2B are numbers. I think I'll simplify it. And it's not something you can't measure. And businesses are well measured.
Yeah.
Businesses rarely make impulsive decision. Very rarely. I mean, they do, but rarely. Well, consumers make impulsive decision.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And they're also, I mean, the right way to do is keep talking to them, right? Understand how their stakeholders work, right? See, for a business, you just can't look at person who is running the business. You have to look at all the internal teams. Uske finance team kya problem hai, operations, where are operations spending a lot of their time. And coming at a point, you have to look at ki, what can I do to reduce pain of operations team? Or what can I do to bring pleasure to the marketing team?
Exactly.
Right? वो जा रहा है, but it has to be a bit indirect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why will marketing team be happy? Marketing will be happy if they're spending less, getting more customers. Right? And why will the product team will be happy, right? If they're getting, like more conversion.
Yeah.
So those are problems we attack. Right? So rather than looking at the business overall, ki yaar isko ye chahiye, that's very high level. That's hard to pull it off. So you have to look at slightly one level below. Right? You have to know how do I make head of this department successful. Right? And that's how you come up with the right idea.
Yeah. And then the other part is also, which I believe is, if you are in a business where more business can be built out of you or more business can benefit out of you, it's a fairly good business.
Correct. I can take example, right? We started this product payouts in 2016.
Okay.
At that time we spoke with...
What's that product?
So payouts help you disperse money to your customers or vendors in a very automated way and without any error. Right? I mean, it will be almost error free. So that time we came across companies in travel space, in like marketplace space. And their head of finance has been struggling, right? Because they say कि यार हर दिन मैं पेमेंट करता हूँ, मतलब say out of 1000 पेमेंट 20 पेमेंट रिटर्न हो जाता है. I don't know why, right? I don't know कि यार अकाउंट नंबर गलत है कि नहीं, right? Either bank is working or not, but रिटर्न हो जाता है. And I don't even know which are the 20 payments which got returned.
Yeah.
Then have to put people, they start reconciling कि onwards हो गया था 20 रिटर्न है, they start matching. Consumes a lot of time. Same time you'll have the vendor shorting on you. यार कि मतलब 2 दिन हो गया, 3 दिन हो गया, why are you unable to pay? And once you start seeing your bank में problem है, it starts sounding like an excuse, right? कि you don't want to pay me on time, and their life becomes harder.
Yeah.
But if they use automated solution like payouts, very minimum chance of error. You can verify the destination bank account number like in a real time. अगर वहीं पे गड़बड़, you can always tell a vendor यार जो आपने account number दिया वो गलत है. I cannot initiate payment. You give me the right one, right? So everyone stays very predictable. And that's how a lot of businesses we have seen is adopting this technology, this product, not because of saving cost. Obviously, they're saving cost. That's like other advantage. More about having more reliability in their operations.
Yeah.
Right? People doesn't have to lose their minds. They don't have to do things which are very tedious and very ugly. Right? I mean, it's a very boring job. And third, your stakeholders are unhappy. हर दिन आके they'll short on you.
Yeah.
They'll say यार इसके साथ काम नहीं करना है, ये टाइम पे नहीं कर पाता है. And imagine if you're a gig economy company and you have 1 lakh service provider.
Yeah.
Even 30-40 of them haven't got their salary for 1 week, right? I mean,
You're gone.
It spreads like word of mouth.
Yeah.
They'll tell everyone I am being, like not getting money, and it will start adding like a wildfire, right? People will believe can't, even though I'm happy, मेरे पास पैसा आ गया, but my friend didn't get the money.
Yeah.
And that will create fear in my mind, right? मेरे साथ भी ऐसा हो सकता है. So I should go and work with a company which is more reliable.
Yep.
So money is a very big factor in establishing trust. That's how we see it. Very big factor.
Fair.
Right? And money defines the character of a people, right? अगर कोई time पे पैसा नहीं दे रहा है और if time पे refund नहीं कर पा रहा है, then I start doubting. And that's where we see ourselves as a trust enabler, trust provider in the economy. And we did it, right? I mean, before Cashfree, refund used to take 6, 7 to 10 days. And a lot of customers used to say, यार जब आपको खरीदना होता है, when you want money, you debit my account instantly.
एक सेकंड में ले लेते हो.
जब आपको reverse करना होता है, you take 10 days. Right? And solutions were around. Right? And we spent time with very big travel companies. Right? हमने बोला यार जब आपको पता है कि cancellation होता है, you don't debit the account. Right? आप बस पैसा block कर लो उसके account में. Once you know कि यार ये अब refund नहीं करेगा, because refund windows are there.
Yeah.
Right? Then and if they're refunding that window, आप just वो पैसा release कर दो. So you don't have to take the burden of debiting money, refunding it back. Right? You just let the money park there.
Nice.
And those solutions really helped us. One is reduce cost. Second is increase trust of the customer.
Yeah, because instant disperse of refund as well.
Exactly. So all of these things are helping customer trust businesses more because we are solving the very key problem. Baki product quality and all business can sort on their own, right? But money problem is something they cannot solve on their own.
Yeah.
Right? They need help.
Lot of help.
Yeah, they need help, and that is where things we're building are very relevant for the growth of online businesses in India.
Okay, so let's, apart from this, okay, now that you talked about happiness, you talked about parking money and all these, I feel these are the small factors which contribute to a scale and growth of certain businesses, right? So what do you feel like when you were scaling your startup, right? What were the key components? Like, how can people scale their businesses? Because you've seen the scaling part, right? Because and there's we are in an era specifically where every day we're talking about blitz scaling, like 10x growth or quadruple growth or 100x growth. It's about X. Nobody's thinking out कि आज मैं 10 रुपए कमाता हूँ तो कल 11 कमाऊंगा. लोग बोलते हैं मैं 10 कमा रहा हूँ तो 100 कमाऊंगा, right? So scaling, everybody has this idea of मेरा product market fit सही है, मैं 10 product बेच दिए, अब मुझे 5000 product बेचने हैं, 10 से 100 भी नहीं जाना, So that's like, what do you feel like? What's the right way to scale, or what are the challenges people face while scaling?
Starting point I'll say is again product market fit. If customers are snatching product from your hands, it means you are successful.
Yeah.
अगर आपको बहुत push करके, see, I'll simplify it, right? No matter what product service you build in the market, in the world, right? You can always find 10-20 customers. लोग खरीद लेते हैं, मतलब, I mean, that's the nature, right? You can always push it harder and people will buy. But unless people are snatching from you, right? They're coming to your door, यार मुझे ये चाहिए, you shouldn't assume you are successful, right? You still have to do more work. And once you have the feeling, यार लोग मुझसे छीन रहे product, then I should start from scaling, right? उसके बाद I should start thinking about scaling. That's something we also believed, right? I mean, initially, we started it up, right? We had a belief कि यार ये चलेगा, but we waited for that moment कि यार सही में चल रहा है कि नहीं. Once we know product market fit है, then we started scaling very faster.
So pull effect market में बनाना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Once you have the pull effect,
validation, yeah. And then after that, see, I mean, as a small business, you should be ambitious, right? I'm not saying yeah, you become very risk averse, ekdam calculator. You have to be ambitious. You have to set ambitious goals, and that will help you find things that we don't know today.
Okay.
If I tell some business मुझे 10x scale करना है, suppose I set the target, then I'll definitely come back with the block points or the enablers which can help me grow 10x. Right? Example is मेरा product customer नहीं खरीद रहे because it's costly for them. Very example which is relevant for us. Right? How do I make it cheaper for them? So to make it cheaper, I have to let them buy it in installment, right? And then only I can reach out to customers that I'm unable to reach today. Like suppose this city has 50,000 people, example, right? 10,000 लोग पास पैसा है, 40 के पास पैसा नहीं है. How do I sell to those 40? Because that's how I can scale, right? I have to increase my consumer base.
Yeah.
Right? And this is one way to grow a consumer base. I make it cheaper for them. I'll let them pay in installment.
Access बढ़ा दो.
Exactly. And then I'll have like higher scale. So you have to set the goal first, 10x, 5x. Come back and see problem कहाँ पे है. Right? Because I know people want this.
That's a good way to see problem.
And
okay.
Makes
so you guys do cards as well?
Yeah, we just started.
Wow. Okay. Tell me, let's just talk about like the top 5 things which you do. So first is providing the payment gateways.
Payment acceptance. Payment acceptance is very wide need.
Yeah.
We do that. Next is like payment dispersal. Right. Third is like reckoning payment. If you're in business,
dispersal as in
like if you have to pay to your customer, pay to your vendor.
Okay.
Right. Say if you're running an insurance company and you are seeing like 10,000 claims per day. Right. And
dispersal
what is
needs to be
automated?
happened,
Right. So you need a system to do it in error-free manner.
Refund, dispersal, like all of these. Okay. So that's the payment dispersal. Then
third is like recurring payment, which is again big. Suppose you are a content platform and you have a like monthly subscription fee for your customer, right? You cannot send them a payment link every month. Pay kar do. You'll have like less customers every month.
So that's the third product. What about the fourth one?
Fourth is like like identity and verification that we see very adjacent to payments product we are building, right? Because before using the payment, you want to verify who the user is, right? You want to verify their PAN, verify their bank account, right? Verify their Aadhaar, and then only you can give them access to your product. This is something we saw as a blocker for using payments, right? Because onboarding I see a lot of decline, and these guys used to spend a lot of time in just making the platform acceptable to customers. So verification risk is the other big one. And then recently we started this larger umbrella product, banking as a service, where we saw this trend of a lot of these businesses wanting to deliver financial service to their customer to increase stickiness, to increase trust.
So banking, let's say EMI options, credit options, lending
That's
options.
more on payments. Banking service more about, let's take example, right? Suppose you are a marketplace, आप seller onboard कर रहे हो. And a lot of sellers may not have the right banking system with them, right? And they cannot do a lot of things which you want to do, right? So if as a marketplace I can help my seller open a bank account then and there when they are registering, right? Then the entire journey for them is easy.
Yeah.
Example, let's say if you're a delivery company, you are getting like 10,000 new delivery guys every month, but if they don't have bank account, how will you pay them salary? And you will tell them, yeah, this bank page account kholo, right? These guys don't know how to do it, right? But as part of our onboarding, right, you can give them option there. Click here to create a bank account. I can open it in the backend.
Nice.
Right. So on that umbrella, I think account creation is one of the things we have been doing. Next is on the card. So a lot of this, yeah, like card issuance. It's as part of banking service. Right.
So if you're branding, let's say if you want to start like figuring out branded cards, we can do that.
One of the use case. And if you say a neobank, right? If you say neobank for a very underprivileged workers, अभी उनको पैसा कैश में मिलता है and they don't know how to save it, right? वो सब खर्च हो जाता है. But if you can like encourage them to take money in a prepaid card, right? They'll be end up saving some money every month, right? And they'll use that money in a more productive way. So you can like directly make them get rid of cash and take their salaries in card. Many use cases around it. Like even in corporate, people manage expenses, and it's unable to do in a centralized way. Everyone uses their own credit card, fee reimburse करता है, right? It's a hassle. As a company, I can distribute 50 cards. I can put controls. Like manager this department can only invest 10,000 in a month. कुछ भी कर, I don't have to approve, right? 10,000 उसका limit है, वही करेगा, and I'll just pay it back. And I can also limit कि that 10,000 can only be spent on software expense. I can define it, right? So as a business, I have to be less worried यार कहाँ खर्च हो रहा है.
Yeah.
So abhi there's a lot of to and fro everywhere, right? And systems are inefficient.
Okay, tell me the best book you feel everybody should read, and tell me one book which every entrepreneur should read.
This book I was reading Fountainhead very long time ago.
Okay.
Right, and it's a very big book, right? I was like 900 pages, such a small letter. It's very difficult to read.
Okay. Wow.
I don't think I can read right now, but I read at a time when I had a lot of free time. And that book changed perspective about a lot of things, right? I think I read it almost like 6-7 years back.
Okay. What did it change? Like, what's the key highlight of the book?
So the book focuses a lot on, making things which are more vanity and things which are more functional, right? That is the larger theme of the book. And there's always a war between vanity and functional.
Okay. Explain more. Give me easier context to this.
See,
what the vanity and functional, like, what do you mean by all of that?
Book was more about, I think the architecture industry, right? There were two kinds of architect. One used to focus on traditional design, things which are more appealing, but less helpful.
Okay.
And other guy was more practical. It's more about if I'm designing a window, I should design so that more air can come in.
Okay.
And people can feel more comfortable. Rather than I can design something which looks very beautiful, but doesn't help the people who are inside the building. Right? I mean, there are a lot of such examples.
Yeah.
Right. So that is very, in this industry, right? Like there are a lot of market, especially in India, looking for this part.
Vanity.
Not vanity. The utility, functionality, right? I think, and that's how the societies can evolve. The starting point to solve is more about usefulness and the way the country is today, right? That's how I think if businesses think about building things which are more useful, more functional, and vanity could come later, but it depends on the options of the people, right? So we always focus on things, right, which are very useful for businesses, very important for them, rather than things which can give a perception of being good, but doesn't really help you. Right? Say if I'm giving something which makes them feel very nice, but doesn't solve the problem, right? I know they'll not use it, right? वो day one मैं feel यार मैं कितना सुंदर सा दे रहा हूँ, right? But end of the day, say if you're like selling a house, right? It looks very good from outside, but what if water drops from the floor?
Yeah,
you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So that's the thought. We have been carrying. Whatever we are building, it should be very useful, right? It shouldn't just be for the sake of it. It should work, and that helps people give a good experience to the people.
Fair.
Right? So example, right? If you're a B2C company, you are writing a lot of great content. You will have feeling very nice when interacting with a brand. But once you're selling something, once you're building a website and they have a bad experience, then they'll not be loyal for you long enough.
Yeah, even though
they like you. Right? So, it's not a very direct parallel we can draw, but that was a larger idea. That usefulness is important. You have to prioritize that. And this book was written like, 1930, 40. At that time, it was very new idea, right?
Yeah.
Right. The entire, and that's why if you go to places, universe, you see things which are very standard, very uniform, right? And it's functional, and that helped during that period, right? In today's context, people would want beautiful variety things, but that time when the resource was less, right? You have to focus things which are more useful, more helpful, rather than things which are more fancy, more beautiful. So we have to recognize that. I think even in India, if you're building a business, you have to focus after things which can really help people grow, which can really help people solve their key problems. That I'm coming back at the same key problems, like bigger pain points.
Yeah.
Then
That
you'll be
will
more,
help.
you have more probability of being successful. I think doing something which is a bit fancy and doesn't excite like last set of people.
In States, we
Yeah.
had this research that only like 25% businesses are online. The rest, everything is brick and mortar still.
Correct.
India, I'm assuming the number is far more because India is still not that online, right? And since you talk a lot about you're going to help and become growth partners of small businesses, then how are you helping these businesses who are not yet online? Like, how are you helping offline small businesses and helping them grow as well?
True. See, we see that there are a lot of businesses, right, which will continue to be offline because that's the product is. Take example of a cafe in your nearby house.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you cannot. I mean, you want to go sit in the cafe, sip the coffee, and do it. But now they also have a lot of challenges around like digital payments, banking, and all. Right. I mean, one is like accepting payments. Right. You cannot keep on getting cash from the customer. Right. You need to find a easier way for them to pay. And that's where we thought about this problem, and we saw a lot of guys have to buy the hardware machine, which is costly. If you're running a small cafe, you won't be paying rental fee. Right. You don't want to maintain it as a hassle. Right. And then we thought, can I have a software solution around it rather than the hardware? And that is where we came up with this idea of building an app which can be installed just on your phone.
Yeah.
And you can accept card payment just by tapping your card on the phone.
Oh, nice.
So this way, if your customers say, I want to pay using card, you have a solution ready. Like you don't have to go and buy a hardware and spend a lot of money on that.
Nice. So you just make like every phone like as a tap.
Exactly. Every phone can
Contactless
be a
payment.
POS machine. Exactly. That is one. Second is, even in the offline world, the problem of loyalty stays. Because there are 10 cafes near your house, right? And if, even though you are a regular customer on the cafe, if they're not doing anything back for you, then you don't have a lot of incentive to visit them.
Yeah.
Right? Unlike you like the people a lot. But then what if that guy can give you a cash back every time you visit? Right? But it's difficult for them to keep track of it. I mean, they can remember the name, but they can remember the name of only 10 people, 15 people.
Yep.
But if they're getting 1,000 customers, they need a system to automate it. Right? And since payments is going to be digitized, you can just add a layer. If same guy is paying again, you can implicitly give 5% cashback after the payment.
Oh, nice. And how easy it is for people to, let's say, because I'm assuming more than cafes, like every small kirana store would need this.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're like, भाई मेरा customer है इस पूरे एरिया में 50 किराने वाले हैं, या लेट्स से 50 तो बहुत ज़्यादा बजे 5 किराने वाले हैं, राइट, इस एरिया में. तो 5 में से ये वाले जो फैमिली है मेरे से ही लेती है. सो आई वांट टू मेक श्योर दैट एवरी टाइम दे कम टू मी एंड आई वांट टू गिव देम लाइक अ रिवॉर्ड और लाइक समथिंग लाइक दैट, राइट. तो उनके लिए बहुत रेलेवेंट होने वाला है.
Yeah. For Kirana, I think short POS is a very, very good technology, right? They don't have to invest anything. See, a lot of Kirana is a very thin margin business.
Yeah.
And they can't invest a lot on the, these kind of payments tools. So software is definitely going to help them reduce the cost. Second, they can do 10 other things, right? When their boy is delivering product to your house, you don't have to pay cash. They can just send a payment link to you. You can make the payment from your house.
Yeah.
Third is if you're buying them from every month, right? You can just agree on a mandate. End of the month, Kirana can send you a bill and debit your account. You don't have to worry about making payment to them.
And how easy it is for these people to do it? It's very simple. Just go to the portal and start doing it.
True. See, a lot of solutions that we started was very API driven.
Okay.
But we also understood there are big set of businesses who don't have ability to integrate APIs.
Yeah.
And that's where we built a lot of no-code solution, right? So the customers can just sign up. The way they use any of the B2C app like WhatsApp, Facebook, they can also use payment system similar way. Just click few buttons and you're ready to accept digital payment without writing a single line of code. Right. So that is I think that will help us cover very large set of like SME businesses who are not that tech savvy, who don't have to be tech savvy, right? I mean, why will a Kirana guy have to be tech savvy? They don't need to have a website. Right. We have all these solutions that they can use and continue with the business growth. Right. So they can, an example, right? Suppose you are someone who's organized backpack or hiking activities a lot. Right. You already have your customer base.
Yeah.
Right. So today you use the Google Doc form. Accept details of your customers because that's like no code.
Yep.
But to accept payment, I think you'll have to integrate a PG and all. That's a lot of hassle. So what if you can get a form which accept details from your customers and also let them make a payment?
Yeah.
Right. And that is where things like payment forms are very useful. Right. You can customize it. These are the input fields I need. Like I need your pickup date. I need your pickup location.
Multiple
Plus,
information.
There is a payment field. Let's add your payment and then the things are much sorted. So a lot of these guys don't have to think about creating a website, right? They don't want to create an app just for the sake of simpler use case, because 90% of their work is being done already without using any website.
Yep.
Right? There are already ready-made tools, they can use it. But just for the sake of payment, why do they have to create a website for it? So there are a lot of solutions for all kind of businesses.
So even if you don't have a website, you can just start doing all these things.
You can use payment form, and this is very useful for many businesses. If you're a school and have to accept fee payment, just use payment form. And there's a lot of automation you can do just out of it. If you're organizing events, right? If Sunburn is happening, right? Just create a payment form, let people share the details. You can customize it, they'll make a payment then and there.
Yeah, like small club gigs happening.
Exactly.
So you can do this.
Exactly. So people don't have to discouraged about using online payments just because they're not technically ready this way, right? I mean, there are a lot of no-code solutions exist with us, and every business I think can take advantage of it. It doesn't have to be online business.
You spend a lot of time actually understanding businesses. You've seen, you've read a lot of books. Right? Why do you feel like why India is a country of small businesses? Why not many small businesses have been able to become large businesses? Apart from the fact that the infrastructure is not there. Like, what do you feel like? What the mindset problem is there? So what's the perspective?
India as a country is very diverse, right? In the behavior, language, like even a lot of like consumerism is very different. A lot of other countries are very homogeneous, right? What I need and what I like will be, liked by 10,000 more people.
Yeah.
So in India, it's very different, very diverse, right? And given that we have so many languages, and languages, tell you how many cultures are there, right?
Yeah.
And that's why there's always a scope of new business to tailor to a very specific set of people, right? Who can relate to your brand, who can relate to your product more and more. And given that it's a large country, you always find big pockets. And to build a large business, you have to start, like building generic things. And that's something we also understand very early, right? A lot of things that we have built are very modular. Right? Something you can take it up, combine 3-4 modules, customize for a specific use case. Right? Because once I start doing the end customization, I'm limiting my market. Right? That is something we have seen in our ecosystem. Right? People who do extreme customization. Right? I mean, you can always have very few customers using it, but you cannot target large customers. And that's why the idea of building a platform is appealing to build a large business.
Yeah.
If you're a platform, if your things are generic that different kind of businesses can make use of it, then you will become successful.
True.
The moment you tailor it for a very specific industry, say I build my product as a payments company, very specific for e-commerce, then I cannot have education, insurance, and other companies working with him, right? Because their needs may not be fulfilled in a very right way. Because I already have added a lot of layer on my product, right? Either I remove those layers, right? Then I won't be able to serve e-commerce also very good. And then it becomes difficult for business to be flexible beyond a point, right? If you do too much of customization, one thing. Same time, you have to, again, it goes both ways, right? I mean, if you're not customizing, but you have to give them the power to personalize it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be very hard for them to use it the way they want to use it, right? So, and that's why technology can help you, really build this kind of things which are more generic and helping people build on top of it the way they want, rather than forcing them to use it in the way you want.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel, where's the next big opportunity for India? Which industry you feel is going to be like, whoever's watching this can build like the next unicorn? Like, is it going to be fintech, edtech, health tech? What industry and why do you feel so?
See, it's not about the industry, right? If you look at fintech, health tech, right? I mean, these industries had been around long, but these industries are changing the way they operate.
Okay.
So a lot of industries today have a very centralized decision making. Right? Suppose I'm running some kind of service company which has like 1 lakh, service provider. So today I as an entity is making decision on behalf of them. Right? I don't have a method to get a consensus. I don't know whether I should change my commission by 20 to 30%. What will be the impact? So a lot of these industries are going to be, revamped, and decision making will be distributed.
Yeah.
Right? Be it any industry. I'm being very generic. And that's how the next set of businesses will appear up, right? Rather than having one entity make a decision for everyone, right? I mean, there will be all these stakeholders can participate, right? They can make decision. This is around what Web3 is going toward.
Like, how can you integrate more industries together and consolidatedly take a decision which will be better for your consumer in order to make it big?
Not like that. Suppose you are running a business, right? I can take example of food delivery company. Right? You have 1 lakh stakeholder helping you serve your customers. Now, today as a food delivery company, I'm deciding a lot of things for those delivery staff. But tomorrow, 1 lakh delivery staff can decide a consensus. They can vote, and they can decide this is right for us, right? And they'll have all the data and power to take such decision, right? So this will be the new form of businesses going to appear. Like entities who are starting will have a lesser say, and people who are participating will have more say.
So you feel when the power of like wherever people have power because of consolidation, whoever tries to break that and make it democratized,
exactly,
that is the real game.
And that is something we'll see in the media industry much more earlier.
Yeah.
And slowly it will go to commerce industry at some point. So if you have to think 10 years from future, it will be very normal thing.
Think of democratizing any industry which is superly consolidated.
Exactly, because that's what people are liking. They want things to be more personalized. They want to have control of their, like, be it data, be it, everything. They don't want surprises.
Yeah.
And they get surprised if other people are making decisions on their behalf. And that's the change in consumer behavior or behavior of any, like.
Oh, that's fair. That's a great insight to think about.